All right, does that mean it's time? It does. All right, at 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. We have our new, smaller full house. With Phil's seat being vacant at the moment. First order of business is to accept the minutes of our October 25th regular meeting. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second. Any comments, discussion? Look great, Carrie, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Excellent. Next up, visitor comments. Is there anybody here for anything that's not on the agenda? All right. With that, we have a ferry service update. I see John King is not here. I have not received an update from him, so I don't know that we have anything for that tonight. Anybody, anything on ferries? Okay.
I think the thing to say would just remind everybody that we've now switched into the winter schedule and that's changed. Other than that.
Yeah. And that we anticipate a formal increase, rate increase proposal to be forthcoming shortly, but we don't have anything formal yet. On sea level rise, we had an RFP out for an engineering, to look for engineering firms for the Narrows project. We received one response from an engineering firm who has a lot of experience. Our next sea level rise committee meeting is tomorrow at 6 o'clock here in this room. When we're gonna, will be the first time we talk as a committee about that response and what we suggest as next steps. But it is my hope that at our November 22nd meeting that we will have a recommendation for you for the select board to approve, who we'll be working with. Any questions about sea level rise? All right, with that, Lauren, for the update on municipal building project.
Okay, well, casting back to our last select board meeting, you will recall that you asked the municipal building committee you asked the team working with our contract manager to go back and see if we couldn't get a lower guaranteed maximum price with the contract manager, H.E. Callahan. We had been working with them for months, and we were at that point where we thought we should get a guaranteed maximum price. We thought it was going to come in any day. And it kept getting delayed. So we thought we needed more time basically to see if we couldn't get that price lower. So we went back, we worked more with H.E. Callahan. And then finally that guaranteed maximum price, which is the basis again for everything that we'd be doing in terms of the project, came in on Thursday of last week. We thought we could put this off until the November 22nd select board meeting, but that would delay everything. So we really quickly moved to have a municipal building committee meeting on Monday. And we managed to put that together. That committee met on Monday. We had quite a good discussion, the result of which was the committee voted unanimously to ask the select board to end our relationship with H.E. Callahan. Our feeling was that we were just not, no matter what we were doing, the contract manager was not contributing enough good thinking about how to cut down expenses on the project. And I want to turn this over to Mark and Pete in a few minutes, but a lot of the savings that were found in the work that we've been doing in the last 2 months, a lot of it was done by Steve Blatt and Associates, in particular Mark Ouellette and Pete Anderson, finding savings here, there, and everywhere. Yes, also H.E. Callahan. So the committee voted to ask the select board or recommend to the select board that we move on from this company. And that's what happened on Monday. I'd like to have Mark and Pete join if it's okay. And have Mark go through where we are now based on their guaranteed maximum price and what, based on what we had initially estimated would be the cost for this whole project. And I want to add just that we are planning on keeping all three parts of this project together. There is no intention at this time to do anything other than completing all three projects. We're trying to get the price for the whole project down to what we had estimated. And if we can't get it all the way to that, then we'll take it back to the town and find out if we can get whatever additional funding we have to get. But we're hoping that amount is as low as we can possibly get it. So, Mark, if you join us up here and Pete wants to sit up here too.
Borrow my name tag if you want. Oh, no, it's not for me. Name tag?
So Gary's gonna put some spreadsheets up on the screen up there, but there's copies of it over on the side over there. It's just that it probably would be easier if you could turn around and follow what Mark is showing you up there. On the screen above your head, Carol and Paul.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Bullet. I'm with Stephen Blatt Architects. I've been working with Lauren and Pete and the Municipal Building Committee rather. And have been working with H.E. Callahan, as Lauren mentioned.
Pete, maybe you should come up here. Sorry. He can see as well. Sorry about that. I'm micromanaging here. Sorry. Don't do this to that. Go ahead.
So as Lauren mentioned, we've been working very hard with H.E. Callahan. They've been working towards a GMP, guaranteed maximum price, soliciting bids from subcontractors. They had done so using our 50% contract documents, which means we're halfway through our documents, and then our 100%. We have done price checks at each and every point and have been working to come up with ideas to value engineer to save costs at each stage. We finally did get our guaranteed maximum price and have gone and went through 2 or 3 rounds of honing down even further, coming up with even more ideas to save money. Before I do get into the numbers, I will say that we're seeing this on every project and with multiple contractors that the bidding market out there has not recovered from COVID and supply chain issues and labor. There are labor and staff shortages by subcontractors, and we thought that things would rebound a little bit after COVID, but they have not. And truthfully, we don't see supply chain issues readjusting anytime soon. And by that, manufacturers of goods don't stock products anymore like they used to. They don't keep a bunch of warehouse materials. Everything is custom. Everything is made to order for your project. And so lead times for obtaining materials is ridiculous. They cost a lot more. And they're not manufactured as good anymore. Believe it or not, I saw a badly manufactured electrical panel recently. And it's an electrical panel, folks, you know. So anyway, in addition, there's a lot of people who in the labor force have retired, and subcontractors are having difficulty getting staff. And so staffing projects is difficult as well. Where they could keep 2 or 3 crews going prior, they're down to 1 now. So they have pick and choose and shift staff accordingly. As a result, bids come in higher on projects. So with that, without any doubt, we've come up with every possible aspect and some pretty hard decisions to make, to come up with value engineering items to try to get to our guaranteed maximum price and targeted budget. And we just have not been able to. On the screen, you will see our initial budget. We have, so when we build a budget, we normally have what's called a hard cost, which is the construction cost. Apologies. And then, so there's a hard cost, which is a construction cost, which is paid to the contractor. And then there are soft costs, which normally are administrative costs, design fees for engineers, things like buying furniture, applying for building permits. That's a little bit of an explanation of what we look at for a budget. Our budgets initially, our health center budget was, I've been calling it $2.5 million or 2.488. We had allocated $100,000 for construction of renovating the existing town hall here, or the public safety aspect, once the healthcare center leaves the building. And then the health center, the fire barn as well, we had allocated $432,000. Total of just over $300,000 for hard construction costs. And then there were some soft costs, which included contingency fees, our design fees for all our engineers, some reimbursable expenses, which include permitting for the state fire marshal's office, and then furnishings. We need to furnish the building with equipment and desks and file cabinets, whatnot. So in total, we had budgeted for these three projects, $3.5 million. And that was our target. That was conveyed to H.E. Callahan. And they started their bidding process. If you could go to the other PDF, please. Thank you, Terry. There are a lot of numbers in front of you, and I am not going to go over it line by line. We would be here for a week. And I probably lose half of you to boredom and sleep. But I will hit the highlights. If you could scroll down to the bottom of the page, please. You will see in the middle tan box there that $3.5 million was our total budgeted project target. We've obtained bids and we've worked to get GMP costs, and we broke it out per project of the three. If you could go back to the top, please. So the top is the health care clinic project. The bid numbers that came in, the GMP price for hard costs was the highlighted number of $3 million. I mean $10,000, $3.1 million. That's base bid. As part of trying to cost save, we had identified we broke out the apartment accommodation and some site work for restriping the parking lot as an alternate or phase 2 deferred scope, if you will. And that came in at $121,000. We came up with $126,000 worth of other value engineering items. And H.E. Callahan had come up with a $64,000 savings. That still puts us, we had targeted construction budget of 2.5 million or 2.48. That puts us at $300,000 over our budget for base bid and $450,000 over, including the apartment. And then we added some, the soft costs, as well. So you can see we're over budget on that project. If we could scroll down to the public safety project. We had targeted or budgeted a number of $432,000 for construction. The base bid is coming in at almost double, $806,000. We came up in the right-hand column there, a number of 6 or 7 value engineering cost savings numbers. Some of them were very substantial, and we're looking at, on that project, providing just a garage shell for now, and some of these things that are itemized here as alternates can be added after the fact. Deferred scope, as I've been calling it. So you can see there, at the bottom line, the red numbers there are $374,000 over for base bid, $860,000 for all of these alternates over what we had budgeted. We intentionally, if you could go down to the next project, which is the renovations of the public safety building here. We were not bidding that through H.E. Callahan. We thought that could be done or performed with local forces, since the scope was minimal and smaller. But we had budgeted $100,000 for that effort, with some design fees too. Again, H.E. Callahan did not price or bid that project. The bottom line, total project, you can see our 3.5 million targeted budget is being exceeded for base bid of $706,000. And if we start to look at alternates, we're looking at a project, total combined project of $1.3 million over the 3.5. So you can see that we're way over budget, even though we've exhausted all value engineering items and tried to create some cost savings to the town of Islesboro, and without tremendously cutting, scope or functions of buildings. But we're still over budget here. So the last box, you can see at the bottom there was an additional, I believe, $100,000 raised since budgets were established, and that last purple box or magenta box includes that, takes that into consideration. So we have felt along the way that, we've not, as Lauren has mentioned, gotten the services that, and the input from the construction manager that we had hoped. One of their pre-construction services that they provide is to give ideas to save money, to speak with subcontractors and solicit cost savings from them. We did get a little bit of that, but nowhere near the money we were looking to get at to our total budget and targeted budgeted number. And that was disappointing. I've thrown a lot at you. I'm sure there are questions.
You want to add anything
So the numbers,
to, what was just said or anything?
I can just continue on what we were talking about.
That
saying
sounds,
tonight.
that sounds good. The only thing that I thought I would mention before you do that is that, there are still areas that we know we can have some savings. The Up Island Public Safety Garage is way over budget from what we have. So we're not done, but we're done with trying to do it with this particular contract manager is kind of our point tonight. At least part of it. Go ahead, Pete.
So I guess to sum it all up, we're asking the select board to move tonight to end our relationship with H.E. Callahan. The next step to consider would be hiring a new construction manager. We'll probably look first at the other three outfits that we had interviewed in the beginning of this process. I think we've reached out to one and they seem very open to coming on with us. And once we get a new construction manager, then we will be revising our schedules. Our timetables will be established, and we will be updating, of course, our committee and the select board of everything that we do in the coming weeks. And also we intend to put out some information both to the voters and to the donors about our change in tax, so keep everybody informed.
And I guess I want to make an editorial comment here that we're very unhappy that we haven't been more successful. That we haven't been able to get the contract manager to deliver more for us. But unfortunately, we feel like that's where we're at. It hasn't been for want of trying. In fact, I guess I want to kind of repeat, probably more contributions, more good ideas about how to cut costs have come from Mark Ouellette and Pete Anderson than from the people that were hired to do that. That's the bottom line. And we could conjecture why that is until we're blue in the face, but we actually made 2 trips to their offices and sat down with them for 3 hours the first time and 2 hours the second time, and looked line by line at some things. And I will never forget, on the one hand, Pete saying, well, now what about this? And then, oh yeah, good point. And in another occasion, Mark saying repeatedly, why are you not considering that you could share expenses for some of the work that has to be done to prepare the ground for the Up Island Public Safety Garage and the health center? And I'm not a construction person, but they're talking about, can't you take fill from one to use it to help support the building at the health center? Can't you do this? Can't you do that? And finally, it was after asking that repeatedly, in one of our last times communicating with them, they told Mark, in fact, they had never gone to the subcontractors and insisted they look at that obvious opportunity. And that is not on us. We saw that opportunity from the very beginning. And they never made the effort to work with the subcontractors to get that kind of thinking across to them successfully. So I guess I want to say, I apologize that we're not in a better place, but at the same time, we really did everything we could. And now we need to move on and get a new construction manager to work with so that we can get a better result. So that's what I want to say. Questions from the select board?
I'll start. Where did these numbers come from? The initial one, we're looking at the green one from August 8th, 2002.
Yep. So initially, we had met with the end users. We established the program.
I think what she's asking is, that is what was presented to the town to vote on for
Right.
approval, yeah.
And you guys put those numbers together?
We did. So we get an initial square footage idea
Right.
of how much of building you're looking for.
I guess my big question on it, and I'm not trying to cut you off, I apologize. Seeing that it is almost half for a garage shell only, I'm just wondering where the numbers came from on it. Like, how did we come in? Like, that was coming in at done, pretty new Up Island Fire Garage. at 442, and now looking at everything now, double that for just the shell of it. And so do we know where this went wrong?
It's a loaded response, yes. So we established the square footages through talking with the end users. We provided input on cost per square foot and apply that to the square footage. And we come up with a number, and that's what we established as our budget. This was just after COVID, basically, and the bidding market has not responded as anticipated, has not returned to normal, so to speak. So
So that's more of what a normal cost per square foot would be like in 2018?
at the time we prepared this, these
Gotcha.
would be approximate numbers per square foot
Okay,
costs. And it just, the bidding market is just not the same.
right.
So it's.
On average, what is the cost per square foot now that you would do?
So what we're seeing is close to $900 a square foot on the garage is what the numbers came in at, which is way out of whack, which is not
Right, from 50 to 900?
250.
250 is the fire department. It's still ridiculously high. So we, in good conscience, did not suggest proceeding with the project with the numbers we currently have. It's just not money well spent. In absence of some other strategy in rebidding the project. So the current bids we have, we just could not suggest proceeding with that project in good conscience.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you have what the numbers per square footage is for the health center? Because if the fire barn went up from 250 to 900, the one before was 480.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying to hold you to it now,
No.
I'm just looking at what the influx is.
yeah, no, it's not as proportionally out of whack. It's much better. I want to say 600 square foot. I could run the math back actually,
Okay.
backwards. Believe it was like $600.
Had H.B. Callahan ever came out to the island? Because when we, beforehand, they hadn't came out before that we picked them, right?
After we picked them, they came out.
Afterwards,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I have.
Good question.
Have we spent any money on H.B. Callahan yet?
We got recently, I don't know, Pete, you want to answer that question?
Have we paid H.B. Callahan money yet, and how much?
Well, we don't have a signed contract with them,
Yeah, I saw that.
so we're trying to, guess at what they would be looking for, and apparently they sent an invoice that came today, for $2,200, which included $800 for somebody who was gonna be renting them a house that they broke the contract.
So the impact on that is
Pretty
really
minimal.
small.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
And do we have any idea of like the cost to transfer to a different, project manager? Or different construction company? Is there any idea of,
So
pretty late in the game at this point?
it is late in the game, but we did reach out to the person who scored second in the interview process. They are available, and they provide similar services, which is pre-construction services and then construction services. They charge hourly for the pre-construction service, and their construction fees are built into the price of whatever they bid. Not an additional upfront cost, if that's what you mean.
I mean, that's pretty on par with what H.E. Callahan's contract services were too, right?
Right, that's typical. industry.
And I would
Just
assume
making sure
that
nobody's doing anything weird.
I would assume that the pre-construction services should go fairly quickly because everything's been detailed as to what they are.
Right, our documents are complete at this
Yeah.
point, so the process will be much quicker.
Nice.
And the drawings and the specifications are detailed, and so there's no more guesswork.
And their percentage was actually lower.
So that's a very good point. In H.E. Callahan's initial percentage fee was 8%. We talked them down or negotiated down to 6%. Typical industry standard is 5%. The person who interviewed and scored second is charging 5%. The 6% that we had negotiated was to their specific contractor, H.E. Callahan, was taking into account for added logistics and island work and coordinating ferries. They had taken on all of that instead of having the subcontractors each take care of their own ferrying. They were gonna hire the ferrying service. H.E. Callahan was gonna manage that part of it, take that burden off of the subcontractors in hopes of seeing better bids. That did not come to fruition.
Right.
So we're actually looking at a 5% fee for this other construction manager.
If you look to replace H.E. Callahan, how much, and before you sign a contract with or recommend, kind of someone else to work with, do you have a sense of, the questions that you ask them, how, based on where we are in the process, how they would anticipate being able to find cost savings for us, recognizing that it's, further down the road?
Yeah, we do that for all projects and with NECM, but some of the other contractors that we've worked with they're more in tune with the value engineering process and discussing those with their subcontractors. And I don't know if we got that service with H.E. Callahan. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, I mean, I guess, I asked a big question, because I'm trying to figure out exactly how to sort of word where I'm getting to, but I guess, I am interested in, as we figure out how, before we enter into the contract with them, kind of, how do we avoid the mistakes that
This again.
right?
Yeah.
And it's great that I feel like we got out of it with a relatively low bill, and probably that reflects the level of effort that they put into the project. But I guess, yeah, I'd like to make sure that we find value in, the next company that we engage.
Understood. If we can have a conversation with them, we can explain to them some of the hurdles that we experienced in this pricing effort and make sure that doesn't happen again. I know for a fact that various contractors have relationships with subcontractors that they can take advantage of. Some CMs out there work more closely with a very smaller group of subcontractors and have established relationships and know what pricing that they would get from them. They also know much better about what their staffing crews and availabilities are looking like. They know which subs have better buying power for buying bulk materials. Not all contractors have that insight, and I think some, I don't know this for sure. My speculation that I think H.E. Callahan is from Auburn, and I think They're reaching to look to subs here that were familiar with the island and island work, which is great. But I think they may have been taken advantage of because of that. If that makes sense. And I'm not sure if all this, the mainland subs that they went to were really sharpening their pencils as sharply as they could.
And in terms of making sure that that doesn't happen with any new contract manager, I think, at least, I feel like I have become much better educated on what to ask and how to ask it, and, you know, not go into this assuming we were gonna get the kind of value that we thought we were going into it with. So I think we can do a better job of conveying, you know, what we saw that wasn't working with H.E. Callahan and what we're looking for to make it better in this next round. I do feel very confident in that particular regard.
No, I mean, I personally feel like, you know, your entire committee has worked incredibly hard and really quickly in getting us, you know, where we are in this project. And I appreciate your willingness to, you know, kind of put on the brakes and say, actually, like, we think that we can find a better value out there. It's, you know, these are really important projects for the community, but, you know, saying like, hey, like, this price just does not make sense. It's not a good value. You should not spend your money that way. Like, let's find alternatives. I know that that is hard and it's frustrating, but I appreciate your willingness to have those hard conversations to find, you know, to make sure that we are finding as good a value as possible to get these projects done.
Thank you, appreciate that very much.
Any other questions, comments?
Do you have a plan in mind for the deferred items that you would think about pushing off? Like, I think I understand the idea of the garage at this point would be to basically nix it because the value, it's just not worth doing. But if you build the shell at 370 or 860, do you have a plan or a schedule or anything in mind or how to fund the finished product? Or are we gonna, like, just so we don't wind up in an empty garage up there for who knows how long?
Well, that is a question we have to bring back to the select board and then ultimately to the towns. Do we go back and say, we're so close, but we still need an additional, I'll invent a number, you know, we're so close on all three projects all together, but to do them and still have, you know, them open, but not have every element, it's gonna take another $100,000. But if we do them complete all the way through, we can get there with another number, and that's what we have to bring back to the select board with, you know, here's where we're at. Here's what happens if we don't complete. For instance, if the Up Island Church, Up Island Public Safety Garage is complete and works, is heated, and the door is open and closed, we put the fire truck and the ambulance in there, but we don't have a well, which Mert says he can live with for a while, then that's where we get, and the town gets to decide if they're comfortable with that, or if they want to go all the way to get everything done, and what would that cost. I don't have those numbers yet, but that's what we would bring to the select board, and then the select board would say, okay, here's what we want you to do, and bring it to the town for a vote. We're apt to have to bring something to the town, because the writing on the wall is that we won't get to that number up there in front of you. We won't get to 3,500,000, 175,000 from the borrowing, 175,000, and then the money that was raised by Linda and all the wonderful people on the island that matched it, in fact, surpassed it, and came up with $1,850,000. So we aren't going to, I don't think, finish all three projects completely out for that figure. So we're gonna have to come back and ask for something. We want to get that number as low as we can.
Questions? All right,
Any questions from the community?
anyone around the table have any questions?
Well, I'm here for a couple different reasons. And I know the main issue before you right now is whether to retain or to fire the existing project manager. So I've been refraining from, other topics, but one of the reasons I'm here is to say, I think it's extremely important to get the fire station built. I know that it's also important to do all the other projects that we want. We're all facing inflation and high costs and problems, and I'm sensitive to all the frustration and all the hard work that's going in. But I think it would be a very negative thing to cancel any one of these projects in favor of the other without going to the people with a public hearing and a vote, because you destroy trust in government that way. And that's not a good way to get support for other projects in the future. Or just general voter satisfaction. I don't think that works. Without trust, you don't have a good relationship. Whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with your banker, your lawyer, whatever, you've got to have trust in relationships to make them work. And everybody that works for town in a volunteer capacity or as paid staff needs to be aware of that they're serving the public, and to keep that respect in mind. And the first thing that drew my attention to this was that the meeting Monday night was at very short notice. The public wasn't notified till Monday morning for a Monday evening meeting. And that gives the appearance of avoiding at least the intent of the Sunshine Law, which is that everything be done open in front of the public so that we can understand what's going on. So that's the essence of what I came here to say. I just don't think that any project should be canceled or delayed in favor of it without a public hearing, without everybody having a chance to do input. You've got a lot of this money is donation. And I'm sure some people donated for one project or the other and would be severely disappointed to find out that it's been diverted in a different direction.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I comment on it really quickly? Thank you very much, because that is exactly the position of the Municipal Building Committee. You know, of course, people come up with ideas, you know, committee members, or maybe we should do this, maybe we should only build this, maybe we should only do that. But the end result after discussion is always that we want to do the whole project. We may bring a phasing option to the select board to discuss, you know, either complete everything or we complete part of everything, you know, and which way do you want us to take it to the town? Because you know, this amount is for doing everything, this amount is for doing less than everything. But doing all of the project and not selecting out one or the other is what we plan to do. That is what we plan to do.
Thank you. And please don't take anything that I say as personal criticism against anybody. I'm just here to voice an opinion that I'm quite certain is that will ever citizens they are here.
No, point well taken. Thank you, Paul. Anything else? All right, with that, does it make sense to have a motion to exit our relationship with H.E. Callahan as the construction manager? So moved.
Second.
Any further comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mark. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Lauren, for all of the work. All right. right, next up, upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports. There is a planning board meeting on November 13th. Any further comments on upcoming meetings?
There's also a planning board subcommittee workshop tomorrow afternoon at 4:30.
For LD 2000.
And energy committee meeting on Tuesday, 14th. At 5:15.
Town manager report.
All right, so first I'd like to introduce Ann Charlton. I think she probably, I didn't give her a cue on the visitor's comment. She might have liked to have stood up then and introduced herself, but she's the new energy coordinator recently hired to
Oh,
manage the prize. Would you like to say anything?
Well, it's not just me, it's also gonna be Kizzy Barton.
Correct.
She's gonna be the other coordinator. I think we have different roles. She's more of the community outreach person. And I'm gonna be helping to find, how are we gonna fund this? How can we help, individuals as well as businesses in town fund, projects for, energy projects. So I'm really excited to be here. I just moved here Saturday, so I'm still getting settled in. But just very happy to be here. So
I'm
thank you
hard
very
of
much.
hearing. Did you say you're here to give them away money?
I'm gonna help you find money, if that's what you want.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, I've handed out to you, the minutes from the October 25th meeting, which is approved. I've also given you municipal building targets, the draft minutes from November 6th. And I've also given you the approved minutes from October 23rd, municipal building project. Tina gave me a copy of the Islesboro results from the state referendum election from last night, and there were 282 voters, which is a great turnout. Yeah.
yeah.
You have the October Bar Harbor Wealth Management sub-accounting. I've given you a recent from today, notice from Constellation Energy for the main power option. The amount, and you have in your packet the town grant preparedness report by Jennifer Hayden. Under my report, I wanted just to report that, I heard from Farley and they're planning to start on the 15th on East Shore Drive. And David, are you here for any reason?
No.
Are you still on the Maple Grove Cemetery Committee? Yeah, I'd like to talk with you and your committee or some of the board members, I think, and some residents over there to kind of see what you can do, what they could do to help us, help people, at least the residents over there, be able to, when the snow comes and we're not gonna be able to go down Boardman Road and up the hill there. But we could have a meeting. Can we?
I think we could.
Good, okay. I wanted to just report that Kathy Johnson has, told me that she's gonna be retiring next February. So in preparing for that, I made a call to our auditor, who a year or so ago mentioned to me they have a, they call it a back office, business that they run for, towns, for running the business, running the towns. But they just lost 2 people to that's why they've been so backed up on with audits in general. So that's not a viable opportunity. In talking with, Mark Roy from the auditor, he recommended, we start with, payroll service to do the payroll. That's one of the biggest, hurdles, I think. But we're trying to figure out, and we will talk with the auditors more about this, if the school should be involved in that, because Kathy does they process their own payroll, but she does their taxes, she does the W-2s, W-4 at the end of the year. She does all that reconciliation. So I don't know how we could go off on our own and have the school do their thing, maybe that could work, but I alerted Sally to that in her sick bed. So she's gonna think about that too.
Okay.
But that's just the, beginning. So I will have to, do some advertising and trying to, if I get the payroll thing, that would be a big help. For that to be taken care of, we don't have to worry about that, and then, try to find someone as a bookkeeper, a finance director.
Yeah, I do think it would be helpful to have, kind of a mapped out what services are provided. But does the school rely on for us for financial services and really kind of map that out for, as we define what a position would be? And I definitely would fully support bringing on a payroll service to handle payroll for the town. I think that makes a tremendous amount of sense.
It might need to be a little bit more of an in-depth conversation, because it all comes from the same purse strings, about instead of trying to separate out the town from the school, actually combining more of it together if we're going to start. And like having the school pay their fair share and stuff like that for it.
Right, no, yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense to sort of start with really map it out and then identify.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be a budget issue.
Mhm. But I don't know how much longer Sally's gonna stay. Is that, when you said Kathy was retiring, it made me sick to my stomach, so I was like, oh no. Sally's occasionally thrown out the dreaded R word, and I will cry. And that will be a
Yeah,
very sad day
I've
for me.
lost a lot of people in the last couple of years. I've given you a copy of the committee chairs listing. It's a draft of, chairs of committees. And, there's 2 or 3 that Phil was on that, we will look to address. I know in the future, we want to have a meeting with the committee chairs. And
Yeah, we can talk about
Yeah.
that when we get to Jen Hayden's report.
Oh, yeah. We had talked about a road maintenance plan with Steve Miller, and I just saw Steve yesterday, kind of talked to him for a minute, but I have not connected with this Peter Coughlin at the DEP. I emailed him and the other lady who I dealt with a couple of years ago, and her email came back, so she might not be there, but he's still there, and I left a message on his phone a couple of times, so I'll see if he just may be out. But, and I did turn over something yesterday to Steve. I've had a notebook with some road information from this road ranger that came out a couple years ago and checked the roads, and in preparation for this RSMS program for road maintenance, that when I started to use it, there was a glitch in it, and then it went to COVID, and then never heard back from anybody. So, Steve, I sent him home with that notebook. Gonna look through it and see what what he actually did when he went out and did the inspection of the roads. So he was gonna send me back, come up with some kind of a summary of what that notebook involved. So, that's it for me.
Questions for Janet?
Yeah, regarding Farley, planning to land on site on the 15th, we'll keep you updated. That's the estimate of when they intend to land here and begin working.
Yes, they had to get their surety bonds, and that's just come in, and I will get that. They couldn't start without that, and I will have that in hand probably Monday.
I don't know if it's so much a question as much as maybe a suggestion. If you can respond to them and get them to really nail down a date that they expect to be here, that they know they will be here, it would likely be in our best interest after the experiences we've had within other operations. It may be wise to attempt to nail.
Oh, I'm sure they're gonna be here in the 15th, but I will talk with him tomorrow. I'll give him a call.
Communication and.
Yeah, don't compare this to are you talking about the playground project? Cause I will mention that to him too.
Yeah.
He didn't know anything about that, the gentleman that I've been dealing with after Silo. Didn't know anything, he didn't know that they did that stuff, so. I don't know who said they were gonna do that, but anyway. But yeah, I will
It
talk to
just might be
him.
wise to.
Yeah.
Nail it.
All of our conversation was with Tom Farley.
He's the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hence the
Yeah.
area of concern.
That's okay, so you got that, sure. Okay.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Issues?
Peter Coughlin, is he with the DEP or the
Well,
DOT?
excuse me, DOT, road maintenance.
No, no,
Any other questions? All right, any other correspondence? All right, main power options contract. So there were a number of emails I saw back and forth with Janet and the folks from the main power options and Constellation. And it appears that based on our meter reading cycle, that the earliest that we could engage with them would be just for a December 1st start date. And they included in the packet is, there it is, their pricing as of today, which Janet requested. I think the issue that we're gonna continue to run into is that we need to sign on the dotted line at 5 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, in order to lock in any of these prices. And so I feel like what may make the most sense is to authorize Janet to enter into a 1-year contract based on the pricing that she receives. And we could cap it if that feels important. But I think that will give us the flexibility to work within their very stringent time schedule. I didn't know how people felt about going that route, since it would be a December 1st start date.
I have kind of a dumb question. So if we lock it in for 24 months, we actually go up a half of a cent point. Is that right? Is that what I'm reading right?
Yes, the kilowatt hours are more expensive as the longer you lock it in for.
Because if after the 12 months, then we're renewing at the 1 year at whatever they are at that time. Is that right, Dick?
That's correct.
So in a optimist world, we like the 1 year. In a protagonist world, it'd be better to do like the 2 or 3 year in order to hold it in for longer.
Yeah, that is correct as well.
I'm feeling very smart and very proud. You heard Dick, he said I was right. That has never happened in the 5 years I have known Dick, so I like that. Do you guys have a feeling about not doing it for anything longer than a year, or are we okay with doing it for?
we talked about
I don't remember
trying
what we
it for
said.
1 year. That was where we started off discussing, do we want to do it for 3 years, 2 years, 1 year? We ended up with 1 to see how it was all gonna play out. That's how we got to 1 year. Whether that's the perfect decision, I don't know. But that's where we ended up.
We should allow ourselves the window at like, it'll be December to December, by November of 24, we've got to start talking about renewing it, because it takes 4 weeks to make
Good point.
the real decision, so. If we go for the year, I guess that's the convenient part of going a little bit longer, maybe we wouldn't have to think about that, but. Enough time to adjust if they go like way higher. I think a year is part of our, make sure we put somewhere that we can do the best they can,
Right.
at least 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
Which is about to do, because the rates change on a daily basis. So,
Well, I mean, I think it would be interesting to look at this, maybe to ask the energy committee to, take a look 6 months in to understand how things are trending. And, maybe how much money hopefully we save between what we would have been getting through the standard offer. And,
That's a great idea.
and then that way it will trigger that conversation for us, because I do.
yeah, that's a great idea, yeah. We'll check that way through and see what happens.
I might point out that, 2 big users on this island, maybe 3, are sitting in the wings waiting for the town to act. School, of course, the Islesboro Community Center, Woodland Cottage, and even the local church are all waiting for this
committee to act and for Janet to sign as soon as possible so we can bring them into the savings as well. Because they all part of savings for the taxpayers in the island. And so I'm recommend we, if 2 years is too much, we can face the issue as you suggest, so say sometime down the road. But nothing, 1 year rather is 2 years is too much, 1 year would work certainly, but most of the communities that I've talked with are 2 years or more. But that doesn't mean we have to follow it. One interesting item, I did talk to the Constellation today. I wanted to be certain it was clear what role Maine Power Options has in all of this. They have a contract with Constellation to work with municipals and non-taxable entities in Maine. They are not a broker. A broker would take a piece of the savings, and they're not a broker. I want that to be clear that they are a separate contract with Constellation. And so they're acting on behalf of Constellation.
Nice.
And there's no money coming out of our pocket for them.
Thank you for double checking that. That's important.
So I would suggest you sign it as soon as possible, so I can contact the school and put a little more heat on it. They're ready to go.
Well, Sally's not gonna be ready to go for about another week, but
They're waiting
You
for
got
the town.
yeah. I make a motion that we authorize Janet to enter into a 1-year contract with Constellation on behalf of our energy savings.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Do we need Dick, can you take that to the energy committee
I
for,
will meet with them
Tracking
next
them.
week and I'll be happy to bring back the results of this conversation. There's a lot of other elements that are in the wind. That I'm not really don't know enough about it yet to call, but once we have a big company like Constellation as our supplier, it's a phone call away to negotiate something different than what we have now. It could improve the standing, for example, for the new building. I haven't done that yet because we done the sign on.
Done. Thank you, Dick.
Dominoes,
What?
dominoes.
All right, the next thing that is under old business, but is sort of new business for the select board is in our packets, there is a pretty thorough report that Jen Hayden pulled together for us. It has a nice summary page for us to look through, but just a little bit of background about how this came to be. When we first put some money into the town budget for some grant writing, we put some money in and then we didn't necessarily have a lot of interest from one job posting that we had for kind of a grant writer position. And what we realized is that we really needed to further define what as a community we felt like we wanted this person to do. And at the same time, realized that there were several committees at work working independently and often kind of pulling Janet in different directions, saying, hey, we have this grant, we have this committee priority. We think it lines up with this grant opportunity. Can we go forward? Sometimes it was asking permission, sometimes it was begging forgiveness. And recognizing that while it is incredibly helpful to receive grant funding for important community priorities, it does not come without a level of work administratively at the town office to track and make sure that we're following up on the reporting. And then also, on the committee volunteers to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to the work that was proposed, particularly among committee staffing, volunteer transitions and all of those things. And so, I don't know, like 6 months ago, Lauren and and Janet had a chance to meet with Jen Hayden,
And Prescott was there too.
yeah, and Kreska Brazier, to just largely to start talking about the Sea Level Rise Committee and the Energy Committee were sort of the two committees that were most, you could say active or problematic in some cases on the grant front. And, thought it would be helpful to have a conversation about what we were finding, what's working, what's not working, like where are the pinch points, particularly from a town staffing perspective. Because of Jen's background as a professional grant writer, she basically said, here is what I'm willing to do and volunteer my time to try to wrap my head around what the town needs are and come up with some recommendations. So over the summer, she went and met with just about all of the committee chairs. Did a nice job of summarizing kind of those priorities, and then also came up with some recommendations for us both in the short term and in the long term for how we may want to consider adding additional capacity at the town office to support grant writing and grant reporting and coordination. So I will stop talking.
Can I add a comment? Can I add a comment? I don't remember now if it's literally in a part of what she wrote, but we do know that there are grant opportunities that we're missing. So the idea is we don't have the people in the town office or even the chairs of our committees, or, it's like, oh, we missed that one. And that would have been very helpful to my committee. And so part of the idea is to have a capacity, I guess you would say, to anticipate grants as they come along and how they might fit into the town structure and whether they'd be beneficial to go after. And that's kind of a piece of the coordination we're looking at. I think that you said that, but.
No, thank you. Yeah, so I feel like there's sort of a short term and and then a longer term or medium term discussion. One of the things that was done kind of pre-COVID that Arch Gillies had set up was more, I think it was like every 6 months, the select board invited committee chairs to come and have, very brief, 2 or 3 minute report out on committee priorities, which I think it was a nice way to kind of ground ourselves in what everyone was working on. And I know we hear that as ex officios, but I feel like it was a nice also for committee chairs to be able to hear from each other to try with that cross pollination. So I guess one thing that, I'm hoping that maybe we would be willing to do that again. And I think, early winter is a good time prior to budget development process to start those kind of conversations. If people felt like it would be worthwhile to try to have one of those a separate meeting to do that again.
I do.
Like that
That's cool.
idea.
Very nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you,
January, you mean, prior to, or you don't mean or do you mean December?
Now it's awful. It feels like we're
I know.
gonna start in November and it's like, well, now we might as well just jump to January.
I know, that's where I went.
I mean, I
I think January is probably a good idea because, we've got Thanksgiving right around the corner and then Christmas and.
Right, I was looking at either December 6th, but that's a little short.
The only reason that I would say maybe we should do an earlier one is to share the report and discuss it briefly, as well as hear from the committees. And then after that, we would begin the regular meetings. This would be a special preliminary meeting with the chairs.
Like a workshop.
Or not.
I mean, send out the report to the,
They've
I
already
think
got
that,
it.
yeah, I think that Jen
Oh,
sent them,
she
sent it
sent-
out to all
so
the
they
committee
all-
chairs that
Yeah, it would be to
They are.
discuss it and maybe at this, I mean. A lot of people are gonna go through this and have ideas and then go with those ideas. I'm thinking that one meeting to kind of cross-fertilize what we're discussing and how we move forward on that might not be a bad idea as a first get together, along with where are you and your committee? So two parts, kind of an update. But maybe January would be a better time for that. I don't know.
We'll start budget discussions in March.
I mean, February is when I send out the request.
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with early January then. I think it's something that we might want to have as a special select board meeting rather than as a separate,
Right, I think Arch tried to have them, cause I see this one, this old agenda, it was 5 p.m., like he would have it before the selectmen's meeting.
Oh,
yeah.
So if you wanted to
2003,
do a different day. I mean, a different time, and not be on a selectmen's meeting night, that's fine.
I was staring at that thing thinking that that was the upcoming one too, and if I didn't say it out loud, we were both gonna be in the exact same boat.
Calendar.
Can we order a new yearly calendar?
We will, but I won't put it up right away. I think Tina's already, I mean, she's already ordered it. And it will be straighter this year, I think.
Even the second week of January, maybe?
Second week, like the 18th or 11th or 12th. The third,
In that time frame somewhere?
because I don't know what so December 20th is, 4th, so it means January 3rd would be a selectmen's meeting. 3rd and 17th, so if you wanted to do an off week of a,
Yeah, I would say let's do it on an off week.
yeah,
Given that, because I think the 17th is too late and the 3rd, I think is too close to.
10th sounds just.
sounds just right.
Right?
For three of our interests.
Yeah.
I have the basketball calendar
It's
pulled
gonna
up.
ask me.
Oh, yeah, is basketball happening still? Oh,
That's working.
has it started?
Is that gonna be a home game on the tenth? Is that why you're saying that?
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
Tough, dude.
oh, what
But
did it
it's-
say, 9:30?
I was gonna say the 9th or the 11th.
I was gonna say the 10th, though, it looks like it's a morning game, because it's with Vinyl Haven, and then it's a middle school game that ends at 3.
Oh, yeah.
So we could do the 10th
It's
Yeah.
Cool.
on that Wednesday.
at 5.
Yeah.
I'd say 5.
Sure.
Yeah, 24.
Yeah, I think that's
10,
Pete's
24.
birthday, my Pete.
Oh, is it?
Or the 11th.
You're still
I don't need to either.
January 10th, that's, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Full eclipse.
And then I guess, we don't have to decide this now, but I'd like to have the conversation on the 10th and, have us revisit this conversation to figure out if it makes sense to try to build a resource coordinator into the budget, particularly while, hopefully there for the next couple of years, there will still be a number of infrastructure funds coming down the pike, and there's so many resiliency projects that are happening with the Energy Committee and the Sea Level Rise Committee, where there's lots of money available. Like you said, I mean, I think with the right amount, with the right investment, we could see some real returns in how quickly we can do some community projects.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Any other comments or questions on her report for now?
It's great. I really like that.
And I think she is willing to talk. I think she kind of wanted us to marinate on this and,
Kind of reflecting on how everybody was gonna receive it.
yeah, and then, we can bring her in when it makes
It'd be
sense.
great if
But,
she came to that chair meeting too.
Oh, good thought.
If she,
yeah, but a huge thank you to Jen. It was a lot of time volunteered to pull that together, so.
how lucky are we to have, Franklin, they're living on East Shore Drive.
All right, no new business, no other business. Next up is to approve, warrant number 10 for FY 24. $1,395,517.19.
And it's so large, I know you, the county budget tax is in there.
Okay,
I move to approve warrant number 10.
second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We do making that motion.
No, I was remarking on your move to a different time. That's all.
Okay, we have,
Brandy's time.
we have two appointments.
Piece of
One is, Gabe Pendleton to the Maine State Ferry Service Advisory Board. And, Crystal Fairfield to the Cemetery Committee. And Janet, I know that there was some discussion at the advisory board for the, ferry service that, was this just that we needed to appoint someone every 2 years, and so Gabe is up now to be
Correct.
appointed?
Yes,
He is still the alternate.
yes, and I guess he might have expired in July, I think, I don't know if it ran in terms with ours.
Okay, but this is just a,
And he's still good to stay on it for.
I called him and said, cause then
That he
John
was
was
going to.
over there that day at the meeting, I said, I quickly called Dave, are you willing to stay on this? He said, yeah, so John
great,
told John Emerson.
Fantastic.
okay. Well, then is there a motion to approve those two appointments?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with that, I do not have any comments tonight. Thank you to everyone who came out to the meeting. It's nice to see people around the table.
One more thing there.
Sure.
In the past couple months, and this past week in particular, I've had occasion to interact with Carrie a number of times. I'm very impressed with how tactful and thorough and efficient she is, and now I've had the chance to read minutes that she's written and think that they're better minutes, more well-written than any I've seen in any committee in dealing with the town over the last 35 years. And I think you should give her a big pat on the back.
How about a round of applause? You have to put that in the minutes too. The applause was loud and deafening.
Thank you. Well said. Lauren?
Oh, yes, it's great to see everyone here and I appreciate very much Paul and Carol for reminding us of the sunshine law and just thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
I just thank everybody who came out and voted yesterday. It's an impressive number and percentage of civic involvement for a town like ours. Great.
I forget how many absentees Tina said, she had over 50. I think, which-
And that's 282 and what our voting body. 400.
Which is, it's grown, it used to be 550, you know, but I think it's, I know, it's
Solid.
really good.
What's up? It's supposed to start tomorrow. I am excited with it.
Are we adjourned?
That was my close.
Make it.
Thinking about you.
Make it so.
Do we adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, everybody. for the
Lauren,
support.
go home.
Okay.
Something to.
Yeah. Back the gavel, we're out of here.
I never used the gavel.
Carrie, look, everybody thinks you're awesome. It's not just me.